Good evening, friends. For few, it might be good morning or good afternoon. I'm your host, Piali, and I welcome you all to this session. Today, I have Mr. Saket Bansal with me, who will be talking about how to communicate effectively in coaching session. So, in this session, Saket will be talking about different aspects of direct communication, like what is direct communication, how we can develop this skill, and as a coach, why should one develop this direct communication skill? So, all these things we will get to know from this session. It's a 1 hour long session. For questions, you can type your questions in the chat box. Towards the end of the session, Saket will address those queries. So I think we are good to go. Though Saket is already a known name in this agile and project management field, he doesn't need any introduction. But before moving forward, I would request you, Saket, to tell us something more about yourself. So in case somebody is listening to you for the first time, he or she can know about you. Over to you, Saket.
Thank you, Piali. And as Piali rightly said, today we are focusing on communication aspect of coaching, and I will facilitate a 1 hour interaction. So you don't have to accept whatever I am saying. I'm not an authority which can dictate how the communication should be done while doing a coaching session, but I'm sharing some ideas. You just need to reflect on them, inquire about it, and you may find something which is relevant for you, or you may discover something while thinking about the ideas, the problems, the challenges I would be sharing related to direct communication. So I don't consider myself as a source of truth, but I do have some ideas which are coming based on what I have been doing in last 2-3 years, primarily while teaching agile coaching, while practicing coaching in my own day-to-day work environment. So I run this company named Eisenbridge, and we are into agile and project management education. And personally, I spend more time teaching agile coaching and coaching my team primarily for better performance. So that is what I do. Yeah, and I'm certified agile, certified coach from International Coach Federation, and I'm IC Agile coaching instructor. So I teach agile around. So this is what about me, and this is the goal of the session. So learn how to communicate effectively in coaching sessions. So as I said, it's a joint event. You are exploring, and I'm also exploring along with you. So just look at the ideas and don't accept them as it is. Definitely inquire about them, and hopefully something can be explored out of it. Now, before we move forward, it's a good idea to know who all are here. It's a virtual session. It's difficult to know the fellow attendees. But by way of running a small poll, I want to ask your roles related to whatever role you are playing. And hopefully that will help us in knowing who all are here. So, Piali, can you run the first poll?
Yes, just give me a second. Yes, I have launched the poll.
So just pick up the role which you feel is more near to you, and yeah, at the end of this some 40 seconds, we will share the results with all of you so that you also know who are here, and yeah, and I can see the poll as well.
Yeah,
so I will get the results as well. Yeah. Okay, so I think if we have sufficient 60-70% hold up, we can
75% have voted, so we can
close
the session. And here is the poll result.
Okay, great. So a lot of project managers. Okay, now you may wonder what the project manager has to do with the coaching. So again, coaching is a skill, nothing to link with the label you carry. And whenever we do the work, we need to do the work and use all the skills which are needed in order to perform that work effectively. So these titles are just useful information, but nothing more than that. Yeah, so good. We can close the poll and we move forward. So that is where we are. Now, many of you are coming from different backgrounds. So I thought of, first I talk about little bit of coaching before I tell how to do an effective communication in coaching. And these are the tryings which I drop in the morning. I was thinking, how do I explain and a lot of things. So in the first trying, this is my intent. So don't go with whatever I have presented. The left-hand side guy is coming with a problem. And the guy who has a little cap on the head is a leader or coach or manager, whatever you want to say. So many times, we as a leader manager feel pride of solving our subordinates, our followers problem. We get a lot of followers, a lot of subordinates coming to us, coming with a problem, and we as a leader usually take that problem. Okay, you have a problem, give it to me. I will look at it, I will analyze it, and I will give you a solution, or I will solve the problem. And this is something we have been doing, and we have been taking pride of doing, that this is what the leader and coach and manager is all about. We solve people's problem. And coaching is not this. Coaching is not making you a great problem solver. So coaching is the below image where a person comes with a problem and you don't look at the problem at all. You primarily focus on what the person is thinking. So it's like this, subordinate coming with the problem and wanting to talk about the problem, and you are not talking about the problem, you are talking and you are thinking about what this guy is thinking, why he can't solve his problem. Because he has all the capacity, all the capability to solve his problem. How should I make him think so that he solves his problem? And that is where the coaching is different from consulting or problem solving or just giving advices. Giving advices is the first part, where you look at the problem like a doctor. If patient comes to the doctor, doctor only asks question, investigation question. Based on the investigation, doctor gives the solution. But when the coach is coming to coach is not asking the investigation solution questions, because he doesn't have to give the solution, because he may not know how to solve the problem. Problems are more volatile, more behavioral, more uncertain. He just need to talk so that person finds a way to solve these problems. And that is how we define coaching. So this is like a small presentation on coaching before we talk about how do we improve the coaching part. Now, some English. So it's like facilitating positive change, spiking the growth and thinking. It's like more making people think, make them self-aware, make them see the mirror, make them find their own capacity and capabilities. That is what the coaching is all about. And providing some structure, some method, some approach in which these all things can come up. In those structure, this thinking can happen. People can find out what they should do, looking at their situation, their problem, and their capacities, rather than somebody telling them what to do. And that is what we define as a coaching. And you may wonder why this stupid coaching is needed. Why can't leaders just give a solution? Why can't we just get it? Why we have to make the other person think? Now, see, if the life is very certain, if you are working in a software development and you get an exception, null pointer exception, and you go to a team leader may know that this is the null pointer exception and this is the solution. He may tell you that this is the solution we have applied last evening. It may also help you, something like that. It's a predictable solution. If the solution works, you come to know in 5 minutes. If it doesn't work, you come to know in 5 minutes. Now, in those kind of predictable situations, repetitive situations, subject matter experts can give you a direct advice, and that may be a suitable in many consequences. It may have a negative consequence that person may never be willing to find out his own way of solving the problem, but at least it works. But in volatile, complex, uncertain, ambiguity full of word, if we give some advice, if we give some solution, it is not going to work, because the solution, the advice which we think, or which as a manager I think, might be based on my own experience, which was working till yesterday. But today the world is different, because the world is changing very fast. And I need to make sure the person who is living in that world has a capacity to solve it, rather than I end up suggesting some old school ideas to a new school people. So default solution doesn't work anymore. Your experience-based solution doesn't work anymore. And the only solution we have in a knowledge industry, in a creative industry, is make people find their own solutions. And that is why the coaching is getting momentum, not necessarily only in agile world. In non-agile spaces also, people are talking, organizations are making their managers behave like a coach rather than behave like an order giver or behave like a consultant or behave like an advisor. So they want them to coach people so that they can find their own solution. So this is a small part of coaching. And we close it with the definition from International Coach Federation, which talks about coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process. So do see it here. It's a thought-provoking and creative process which we are focusing on. So it's like we are saying it's a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their potential and professional growth. So the whole idea of coaching is primarily, how do I do that? How do I provoke thought? What kind of a process can help people to think and move forward? And that is what we do in coaching. Now, having said that, done with the coaching, how do we do it? Now, there are various competencies needed in a coach in order to perform that thought-provoking and creative process. And communication and communicating effectively is one of the key area. The International Coach Federation defines it as a one of the area where they have these 3 detailed communication competencies. And it's like, before you speak, you should listen. So active listening. And when you speak, you rather than giving an advice, you ask powerful question. And the whole process of communication should be direct, should be in a way so that it doesn't create confusion. It helps people to move forward rather than and keep them backwards and confuses them. So in this particular session, we are primarily focusing on direct communication part of it, and this is one of the core competency area which coach should have in order to perform his job of thought-provoking well. Now, before I move forward, let's run the second. So just this slide, and after that we run the second poll. Now, communicating effectively, though we are focusing on direct communication, I see that there is a good amount of overlap between various things. And emotional intelligence was not spoken as a direct competency in ICF, but it is like a foundation. My personal belief is, in order to have an effective communication to a coach, the foundation starts with emotional intelligence, and the foundation of emotional intelligence is a self-awareness. So everything starts with a self-awareness, and further developing an awareness of others and self-management and management of others as an emotional intelligence foundation. And after that, with an emotional intelligence, you can have an active listening. You live in present. You do look. Your situation. Your questions are based on the present discussion rather than based on the script. And your communication is direct. And when all these things come together, we achieve a goal of effective communication. So I see that emotional intelligence as a foundation of effective communication, and listening, asking powerful questions, and direct communications are kind of a pillar which helps us in achieving the effective communication. Now, and as I said, that today's topic is a small one, interesting one, many times felt, oh, this is so simple, is direct communication. So we will spend time in direct communication, but before I speak about it, let's run a poll and understand what is direct communication.
Yeah, I have launched the poll.
So, out of these 4 options, which one do you think is direct communication? In a simple word, more clear, or in a say, forget about the word direct communication, more clear, specific, less ambiguous. communication in your view? Great. So we all know what is direct communication. Majority of us is clear about what is direct communication. And that is the rest of the content we are going to look at. Something which is direct. Now, how do I know serious, lazy, don't care? All are very ambiguous words. And they are very judgmental. So how we keep our communication direct and objective is the goal of rest of the 40 minutes which we are left with. Okay, so we close the poll, hide the poll, and we move forward.
Yes, the slides are back.
Okay, yeah. So here we talk about the direct communication. So ability to communicate effectively during coaching sessions and use a language that has the greatest positive impact on client. A lot of English, difficult to understand. Because it's International Coach Federation's definitions, and I think most of the definitions are designed to make it precise, maybe not necessarily understood well. So idea here is whatever I speak, the other person should take it as a positive inquiry, and it should help my client to move forward, and he should understand, or he should not misinterpret what I am saying. So there is a less possibility of misinterpretation. If we achieve these things, my communication is direct. Less misinterpretation, positive, moving towards solution. This is like a 3 characteristics we can see in a communication effectiveness. So you may see, okay, it's such a simple thing. Whatever I speak, people should understand. So what is so great in this simple thing? Now I share some of the challenges. And these challenges make the direct communication difficult. Now, you know, people hear what they want to hear, not what others speak. You don't listen to people in general. You only listen to your own voice. Now, you may say, what a stupid idea it is. So just don't take it literally, but let's get into the details of it. So coach may think that how do I change my communication so that coachee gets what I'm saying and asking, rather than coachee think what I am saying and asking. So there could be a difference between what I'm saying and asking and what coachee is thinking I'm saying and asking. And if I can bridge that gap, my communication is direct. And the reality is there is something called conformance bias. So it's like we have our own beliefs, our own mindset. In a summary level, we can say mindset, our patterns. And those patterns are set in our mind. And because of that, we only listen what conform to our patterns. And we ignore all the facts, all the things which does not conform to our pattern. And this thing has a name called confirmation bias. And there is a ladder of inference which is coming from Peter Thiel's the 5th discipline workbook. And in a simple word, it talks, you can see like a ladder moving from one step to another step. And the first step is we observe the event as it is happening. So think of, there is a video camera which is capturing what is happening in a room. So observe the data experience as a videotape recorder might be capturing it as it is. But as an individual, I select data from what I observe. Since there are so many things which is happening, I pick up the subset of it. And I add my thought, I add meaning, culture, personal to it. So whatever data I collect, I add meaning to it. And based on that meaning, I make assumption and I draw conclusion. So you can see that this whole stuff is based on a subset of data. I added information to it and I made some conclusion based on it. And that makes my belief, and then I go back. The bigger thing is I go back to look at the data again, look at the videotape again, and only pick up the things which confirms to my idea. And we all are subjected to this, which we call it confirmation bias. All of us are, as a human being, this is how I think we are designed, or we have made ourselves, I don't know. But this is how we are. Now, what do? You are a coach and you are talking to someone, coachee. You want to move him to a thought-provoking process. and you need to speak to him, you need to ask questions to him, and you want he should listen, he should get what you are saying. So in order to reduce this confirmation bias, the first thing as a coach I can do is I need to be aware of it. I need to be aware that whatever I speak is not necessarily exactly get interpreted the way I think. The coachee might be thinking differently. I need to be aware of confirmation bias. And I need to be clear, articulated, and direct. Be more and more precise in choosing my words. You are lazy. There is a big amount of confusion, interpretation. Somebody thinks lazy means just not getting up from the chair frequently. Somebody may feel lazy means it's a big offense, I'm not working at all. So we need to be clear because they are adding meaning to it. You just said you are lazy, and you in your mind it could be like the person is not looking active today. So we need to be clear in articulating and direct so that confirmation bias does not create misinterpretation. Use concrete words. So rather than using lazy, you can say that I don't see you getting up from your chair today last 1 hour. Some concrete. So you are primarily talking about you're not getting up from your chair. Why are you sitting like this? Something like this. So it is concrete. It's clear. Person can understand what you are saying. Be respectful. So in throughout the direct communication, we will keep talking about always remain respectful to the coachee. Because if the coachee feels that whatever you are saying, asking is a threat, he will start defending his territory. And when he or she starts defending his territory, the whole goal of communication is gone. So we need to make sure that as a coach, we remain always respectful to the coachee. Yeah, keep repeating. So you need to repeat multiple times before the person can understand. In a different language, in a different word, but maybe the same thing. So you need to judging during the conversation how things are going, and if you feel the need, you need to keep repeating. Some ideas. So there is a book called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan, and they primarily spoke about making ideas stickies, not necessarily only coaching conversation. It is more about how do we communicate so that people, it gets stick in their head, people's head. And I can find some of the ideas which are very, very relevant for our direct communication. One is keep the message simple. Unexpected is something like bring suspense into it, which may not be relevant in our coaching conversation, but keep the message simple and keep it concrete. So like what is concrete and what is abstract? I says I need trust. Abstract, people will have a different meaning of trust. And when I say I want people to come on time, concrete, no misinterpretation left, no story adding possibility. Now better, I define the on time as well. I want people to be here at 9 a.m. Can we do that or not? Clear. So now on time also further defined. So keep it as concrete as possible. People will get to it. They will not misinterpret it. And yeah, so we can think of some of the other things like sometime if the concept is becoming too abstract, you may add metaphors, you may use stories as a coach. And yeah, these are some of the ideas which we can pick up from Made to Stick when we are handling the confirmation bias, when we are handling the direct communication.
I close the poll now and share the result.
Now, the second thing, so we spoke about confirmance bias, which is like one of the challenge, one of the danger which coach has to take care of it. Another is uncertainty distracts. The coachee who is standing or sitting in front of you might be feeling very uncertain about what's going to happen, what this coach is going to do, what kind of questions he's going to ask, where we will end, how long it will run. And all these things may distract him and make him not focus on the conversation. So there is like your brain carves for certainty and avoid uncertainty like it's pain. We want to know when things are going to happen next. That is something as a human desire. Our brain is a continuously certainty seeking machine. And that is sometimes it's a big problem. Brain needs a sense of certainty. and it does not care if that thing is true or false. It should be there. So we end up creating our own certainty, even if it is false. We create our own world and start living into it. So the idea here is how, as a coach, I take care of this uncertainty and ensure that people remain focused on the coaching conversation. The simplest thing which I can do is clearly state coaching objective, meeting agenda, and purpose of the techniques or exercises which you are going to use in the coaching session. Make people clear that, okay, this will run for an hour. This is our objective. This is what we are trying to achieve out of it. These are the possible exercises we will do, which will lead us to uncover something like this. So create certainty, at least create a container of certainty so that people are not distracted while you are having the conversation and they can listen to you. So in a simple way, direct communication is a coach effort to create active listening in coaching. See, as a coach, you need to listen actively. But when you are speaking, you need to make sure you package your information in such a way so that other persons end up getting it. Now, how can we do that? By making more and more direct communication. And these are the techniques, these are the things which we are exploring today about direct communication. The third problem, so I spoke about conformance bias, then I spoke about uncertainty avoidance. Now, third problem which is there in a direct communication, and now the third and fourth problem, there are only 4 things which I'm talking, are more linked with coach. Now, this is a problem with the coach. First 2, we spoke about the coachee perspective, what should we take care in a coachee so that he gets it. Now, what you should keep in your mind so that you use a direct communication, and this is your conformance bias, which I usually say I know bias. And you know, we make ourselves fool. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool you. And we don't know ourselves, and we believe that we know everything. And that is the coach's problem. Now, many times what happens is the coach starts speaking something and you start anticipating. Uncertainty avoidance comes in your head and confirm that your biases comes in your head, and you start anticipating what's going to happen. And I know he's going to say this, and this is the solution, and this is what he should be doing. Gone. Now what happens? You get into a conformance bias. You start picking up the subset of the data. Whatever the coach is saying, you are ignoring, which is not fitting in your mind, and you are only picking up the thing which is supporting your I know. And I know becomes the biggest blocker for the direct communication because you are not listening. And when you are not listening, whatever you are speaking is difficult for the other person to understand because you are not getting what he's saying. You are getting something else. So the only remedy which I suggest is first be aware that there is I knows bug and you might be infected by that. Validate your assumption frequently. You cannot get rid of I know. We are human, so we will get our assumptions. We cannot process all the information, and it's not a computer. That's the difference between computer and human. We cannot remain rational all the time. We are emotional beings. So the only thing we can do is we validate our assumptions frequently. We summarize more often, and we validate our assumptions, and even by sharing it. So if you start feeling something, better say it out that I have a sense of feeling. Can you validate it, or can you share your opinion about it? So you share your sense of feeling, and that is how you can get to the reality rather than remaining in I know bug. So this is the third issue which coach might face. Another one, coach problem, curse of knowledge. Now we all are cursed by knowledge. Okay, what it is? So curse of knowledge is a cognitive bias that occurs when an individual, especially coach, communicates with other individuals unknowingly assuming that others have a background of understanding. Doesn't get, yeah? This whole definition has a curse of knowledge, I guess, because whatever it is saying, maybe 50% people may not be able to relate to it. Simple thing. If you talk to a doctor, he may talk about diseases as if you all know about it. If you talk to an engineer, he will use so many engineering terms assuming that you will know about it. So as people who live in their world, they start using language with the assumption the other person will understand it. So if I'm coaching in an agile context, I may start saying, oh, in retrospective, we had a burn down chart. In the burn down chart, I can see a spike. I think our story points are less and all those stuff. Now, it might be that your coaches are not even getting 50% of it. So now I'm not, you may say, oh, if they should understand it. I'm not saying that if they already understand it, use that language, no problem. But be aware that you might have your own curse. And by picking up this thing, you can see many great communicator or the great scientist, knowledgeable guys. It's difficult to understand them, many of them, because whatever they speak, 50% doesn't get into our head. And there are other who are very good communicators, even if they are great scientists, they speak in such a language, even a primary school student can understand it. Because the second set of people are not cursed by their knowledge. They keep their knowledge, but they simplify it before they communicate. They communicate in the language of other people's, not in the language of their own. So as a coach, we need to be aware that direct communication gets hampered by your curse of knowledge. What do? Simple. Match the coach's language and probably also match coach's energy. Be with him or her in his or her word. Don't speak from your word to her word or his word. Maybe you remain little bit ahead so that you don't get lost in his or her word, but not too much away so that the other person find difficult to even relate to you, difficult to even reach to you. So simple. These are the only simple thing I wanted to talk today. Handling challenges in a direct communication. These are the 4 things which I find prominently in direct communication: conformance bias, uncertainty avoidance, and coaches I know, or coaches confirmation bias, and coaches curse of knowledge. If you take care of these things, our communication can improve. Now you may wonder how. Keep it short, keep it simple. We call it succinct because it saves energy in mind and time. You can just make a small statement. Small statement also keeps people on the agenda. Use visual words. Use concrete words, use metaphors. When things are not concrete, like there is assuming there is an elephant has a rider, think of your mind as an elephant. Where does he want to go? And think of your rational mind as a controller who is sitting on that elephant. So use those kind of metaphors which can make people understand what you are saying. So short, simple language. Be specific. Focus on meaningful and relevant information. Talk about important things. Don't get into too much details, because you understand people has a limitation of processing information. We saw about conformance bias. What if you only give a few data points? Then the other person might be able to grasp it. Because if you give them 10 data points, 10 statements, the other person will definitely pick 2 or 3, and the one which he or she feels comfortable picking, and may ignore the remaining 7. So maybe we can help the conversation by keeping in a small package, small bites, so that people can eat it rather than giving the full food in a one go. So you give a full platter, the other person will only selectively eat the things and leave the rest of the things. If you give them a small bites, and then you can also prioritize them, you make sure that the other person eats as per the dietary needs first, and before he comes or she comes to a detailed things. So keep things in a small bites. Generous. So make sure you are not offending the guy. Respect. And most of our agile, lean values talks about respect people. So when you use your conversation, respecting is one of the things. Use words to include other person's perspective. So do take feedbacks. Don't just go in a one flow. Communication is continuous listening, asking questions, and using direct communication in it. So if I talk about the initial thing, You can't just use direct communication. It would be useless if you are not listening, if you are not asking powerful questions. And if you are not aware of your emotions which are playing in your head when you are having this particular conversation. We did a 1-hour webinar on emotional intelligence before. If you are interested, you can just go to write down YouTube emotional intelligence Eisenbridge. You will get the recording. And similarly, we also did a 1-hour long webinar on powerful questioning. You can write powerful questioning Eisenbridge on YouTube. You can get that as well. So these are some of the ideas which you can see. And if you want to take the learning forward, so this is where we are ending, and we will have a Q&As round here. If you want to take the learning forward, you can think of joining our 3 days or a virtual 6-week long Agile coaching program. This particular program is certified by IC Agile. It's a decently popular program, and this is one of the program which certifies you just by attending and knowing coaching things. So they have a hierarchy of their certificates. They have IC Agile, the knowledge-based certificate, and there is an IC Agile expert certificate, which is more an evaluation-based certificate. But yeah, this is a good thing. And recently, we started the virtual program. We are doing our first virtual program batch next week onwards. So it will run in 6 weeks, 3-hour session per week. So there will be a 1 day. So we have selected Tuesday. So every Tuesday we will have a 3-hour long session, and then some exercises, then come back and again do a 3-hour long session. So this is how the 6 weeks it will run. And the final week we'll have 2 consecutive sessions, Tuesday and Wednesday of 3 hours, which makes you the certification journey completed. The good thing about virtual session is it gives you a good time between these 2 sessions, and we will have a lot of assignments. So you need to spend 2-3 hours in between of those 2 classes. And our assumption is, our hypothesis is, it will significantly increase the learning if we compare with just going it in a one shot. So time will tell. This is something we are exploring, and we have a batch next week, and in future also keeps coming. And the classroom programs we are doing in Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Pune. So all these schedules are available on our Eisenbridge website. So here I stop and I wait for all your interesting questions. Just for references, I have used image from Pixels. There are core competencies coming from Coaching Federation. I pick up some of the diagram from Immunity to Change, Peter, the 5th discipline, and Make to Stick. Chip and done. Okay, time to have a conversation.
Yes, just let me check the question box and share the questions with you.
So you can see some chat box in your interface, guys. You can type your question there. It will reach to us, and we would be able to address some of it, if you have any.
Okay, so we have a question here from Mehul. Mehul is asking how to engage audience when they're from different profile.
Okay, so if I am hearing, it is like a group coaching conversation or a, okay, so looks like it's not a coaching conversation. It's just a question. It is more about a training or a presentation question. So what usually work for me is find some common language, some common objective, like by running a poll or something, the way I did today. Okay, so bring some interaction which can help them to find at least some of the common areas, and then you can start speaking that language. So again, your context will demand maybe a different thing, but you need to find a language which you will use, because you possibly cannot use multiple languages. And another thing which you can do is use the simplest language when you are communicating. So if you have 3 types of audience and you realize that the lowest one will be this level, then you may use the lowest level communication language, so that hopefully you will definitely get it. And usually, even if you're speaking simple, even intelligent human also appreciate it, so they won't undermine your intelligence. Sometimes we have a feeling that till the time we don't use heavy jargons and heavy words, people will not appreciate us. Maybe true in some context, but I usually find, especially in a speaking and coaching conversation, that usually doesn't help much. Maybe it helps in consultancy, where you need to show your expertise, and see that I can solve your problem. But in general, in coaching space, it doesn't work.
Okay, so I'm moving to the next one. Next we have, how does a coach assess the level of coach's knowledge of understanding? Any techniques?
Okay, what possibly can help? Ask question, I guess. You can just ask, like, what is your expectation from it? What all you know till now? What are you learning by now? What have you already explored? So, and then if you listen, you know good amount of it, and then you can validate it. That, okay, this is what I believe. Say somebody is coming to you. You are a new agile coach, yeah, and some Scrum Master comes to you, and he wanted to have a conversation around how to conduct a great retrospective. Now, if you don't ask a question, he says, you know, in a Scrum guide, we have something called a retrospective, and it should ask about these 3 questions. So what is bothering us, what is helping us, and what should we do, and all those things. What should we keep continue, what should we stop doing, and all those things. So the possibly you have given the right answer. Yeah, nothing wrong in it. You spoke about one technique. Now you don't know what actually the Scrum Master was looking for. It might be he's just a first-time Scrum Master and he doesn't know all these 3 things. Or it might be that he has been running Scrum for 1 year and now he's exploring different techniques of doing retrospective, because now retrospectives are becoming boring. Now the challenge is, how do you know what is the situation? Simple thing is, you start with the question. Okay, what do you want to achieve from this retrospective? How it is working right now? What a great retrospective means to you? By hearing the answers, you know where he is and what he wants to explore with you. And you go there and explore that space. So this is possibly work. You may have some more techniques, but this is something usually work for me.
Yeah, I have assigned the next question. How do we find the level of conflict from the language and how a coach addresses it?
So I'm not sure what is the question and what is the answer, what possibly the answer could be. But in a simplest way, if I just use my I know, yeah, I am using my I know here, which I can predict possibly this is the thing. Say the idea is that many times the conversation and coach might be working as a conflict resolution guy, and if you see some of the knowledge base, like the Coaching Agile team by Lisa and all, we do see some pattern in the language which tells us what is the conflict level. So if you see blame coming all the time, that this guy is doing this, he doesn't care about it, this is the only thing which we have to do, he doesn't understand it, you understand where the level is. There is a less conversation about the matter, it's more conversation about the person. So you understand the level of conflict. Or you see a language where it is addressing and talking about that this can never change in this company, I have tried my best, I am giving up, then you understand that it is a further next level. So the Peter Lees, the Lees framework which we use in which is explained in a Coaching Agile team, where we talk about various conflict level like problem to solve, or at the final stage is word war. In that particular content, we do have some ideas for the language, which helps us in identifying how serious or how deep the conflict is. And I believe if you just be present and keep your eye on aside, a lot of things can come.
Yeah, moving on to the next one. Rajesh is asking, besides communication, what are the other skills required for a good coach?
Okay, so the ICF, the link which I have shared, has many other competency areas. And having said that, communication is in a way the most core area. And when we talk about communication, it is not just direct communication. It is all about active listening and powerful questioning. And this whole thing comes as a one packet. Now, what are the others? Just to give you some brief, the creating a relationship, an agreement, and finding out boundaries and defining what is responsibility, what is your responsibility as a coach and what is my responsibility as a coach itself is a competency. So how do you keep people accountable? It should not happen they start expecting something which you are not intending to do with them. Is a competency. The another competency, I'm giving a small window view, a direction. The another possible competency which you can explore is how do you take this conversation to an actionable insights. So creating an actionable plan and working to monitor that, creating a structure which monitors it, those plans is the another competency. So the whole thing comes usually in a coaching conversation where you have a clear expectation between coach and coachee. Then you have communication which is happening by listening, speaking, and asking powerful questions. And this conversation leads to some actionable items which has some time frame. And you have a clear accountability and tracking that these actions will get taken care, and we will take learning in account. When I say tracking, doesn't mean you must do it and there will be some consequences. It's more about if it is happening, what we have learned. If it is not happening, what we have learned. So creating this whole thing as a coach is a coach competency. Now, this is a pure coaching space. In Agile world, we also need to add Agile knowledge to it. Because Agile coach is not only the professional coach, he also is expected to work as an Agile expert, Agile consultant, Agile trainer, along with doing coaching. So coaching is a one, you can say it's an activity you do. But as an Agile coach, you do other activities also, like training, mentoring, consulting, advising, and sometimes solving problems. Now, for all rest of the activities, you also need to have subject knowledge of Agile and knowing Leans, knowing Scrum, Kanban, Scaled Agile Framework, whatever your context demand, so that you can also play a trainer, mentor, and advisor role may also be needed for an Agile coach. So I spoke about a coach first, coach as an activity, and then the Agile coach may be plus to it. Now in our ICF space, even if you don't do this thing, it's a good idea to visit an IC Agile website and check the learning objective of these programs. The learning objective of these programs will give you a good insight that how I can grow as an Agile coach. Even if you don't attend the 3 days class or a 6 weeks long program, just you look at the learning objective and you may have your own plan to achieve those objectives. Okay, I think we can take one or two more.
Yes, one more question we have here. Sometimes in our audience, we have people who just try to ask questions which sound difficult to answer immediately or require a bit of analysis to answer. So how do we handle such audience or coaches?
Okay, so first thing is, it's not a coaching conversation question, but yeah, since we have little time, I can share my view and my approach. Again, I would share that my answer is not necessary to be an absolute truth. What I do, if I don't know something, I accept that I don't know. And sometimes if I feel that it will be risky to say I don't know and I want to think a little bit, I may ask audience, okay, here is the question, anybody want to answer it or has an opinion about it? So there is a high probability, especially if it's a corporate group, you are delivering a corporate training or you are facilitating a corporate coaching or a group coaching session, there is a high probability that you may have someone in the audience who definitely has a bigger insight about that thing. So as a trainer, your role, or as a speaker there, your role is not that you are the only mind of these whole 50 people or 20 people. There are other 20 minds as well. You are primarily playing a role of facilitator who can help those 20 minds to share their thinking, and you also put your knowledge to it so that all these 21 people go from the class with little bit more knowledge, little bit more intelligence. So fall back on facilitation, and this is not necessarily that you do only in emergencies. You can you can make it as your style. You can always do it. So this is something I wanted to share as my idea, not necessarily a truth.
Okay, I guess we can take one more question. Is it fine with you?
Yeah, final one.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have how to create a trust between coach and coachees so that coachee can open up and answer questions.
I don't know. So see, again, it is a based on specification and situation, and there is no perfect solution, and it is not about something which you can create. So if you say that Simon Sinek's language, trust is something which is feeling thing. You cannot create in someone. You cannot give trust. He says, "Give me a trust," or create a trust in me. So you can't do that. It is something that person has to feel, and you can't control when he starts feeling it. Now, having said that, there are some things which can help, and we talk about the SCARF model. You can search a model called SCARF. We call it, it's an acronym which is talk about status, that if you respect the guy, you don't attack him. Yeah, there is a probability he will start looking at you. I'm not saying he will start trusting you, he will start looking at you. Yeah, so that's the one thing you do. The another thing which you can do is play a fair game. So whatever the person should feel that whatever confirmation, whatever information you are sharing, they will remain confidential, they will not get misused. So play a fair game. The another thing which you can do is give people choice. Don't, like, they should feel autonomy. If you give them, do this before you come next week, I don't have a choice, and I feel like present. Now you can ask him a question. Is it something, an action item we can make? Even if there is no choice, the person should feel that there is a choice. Again, it's a feeling thing. So respecting the guy, first thing. Second thing, have a fair deal with him. So less difference between what you say, what you do. Second thing. Third thing, don't enforce actions. Don't make them choiceless. Give them choices. So these three things usually help. I'm not saying, again, it's a too global thing. Everybody want to create and trust in each other. And we end up anyway not trusting others. So this is an ongoing tussle. There is no solution to it, but these are the things which can help you to find probably your own way and your own solutions. Okay. So
Yes, so that's all. We could take care of the questions. We have few more questions, so I would request you friends, whoever have questions, please do post or pose the questions in our discussion forum. You will get a thread about the link where all the details about this session will be there, the SEU, PDU details. And if you have any questions, please post it on the discussion forum. We can take it forward. And I can also see few people are asking about the schedule, about the coaching program of both the online program and the classroom program. Please do visit our website, as Saket said. All the details are available there, eisenbridge.com. You can see the schedule in the training calendar event section, or you can just drop an email to us at sales@eisenbridge.com. So we can take care of your queries and other needs. So that's all from my side. We'll be back with the other webinar on 27th of this month on lean transformation. Timing will be 3 to 4 p.m. India Standard Time. Eric Goulier would be the speaker. And yeah, that's all from my side. If you would like to add anything before we wrap up, Saket.
No, it's nice. Thank you for listening me for 1 hour, and it's my privilege to present this topic here. Thank you.
Thanks, Saket, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Thanks once again.